It's our weekly conversation with our hockey insider, Pierre LeBrun. Pierre, I know that Olympic hockey rosters aren't due until December the 31st, but I also know, thanks to you, thanks to reading you in The Athletic, that management, Team Canada management's expected to meet next week and talk about trimming down that roster a little bit. Interesting thing is there are some players who've made a real impression this season who are not necessarily locks to make this team at the start of the year. Who's made the most impression on you so far, Pierre?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think up front, the three forwards I would probably put in my top three would be Mark Scheifele, Nick Suzuki, and Macklin Celebrini. And I think those three names are very much in many of the calls and group texts that Team Canada's management is having right now, which, again, doesn't guarantee anything, but I think those three players have really helped themselves a lot as far as the bubble list and trying to get into that Team Canada. I mean, Suzuki in particular, the trust factor with his game over 200 feet and facing the best competition on every team every night, Jay, to me, there's no risk if you're Team Canada on taking him. So that's probably my group of top three. But then there's other names to me that are very close there. Tom Wilson, I know still gets talked about a lot. My understanding is with the management group, Wyatt Johnston, Robert Thomas, Connor Bedard, those are all guys also in the conversation. And I know Tom Wilson might surprise, people watching, but, he's kind of a unicorn, Jay, and it's a small NHL ice that the Olympic tournament's being played on. Wilson leads the Capitals in goals so far this season, having another great start. So not saying he's making it, but he's certainly another name that has come up, as my understanding.
I feel like it would be incredible to have Tom Wilson on his team, but maybe that's just me, Pierre. Jordan Binnington, Adin Hill, Sam Montembeault. Those are your three goalies of the Four Nations face-off for Team Canada. One's injured. Neither of them are in the top 30 in save percentage this season. Do you feel, Pierre, like the goaltending situation's kind of wide open right now for this team?
Well, that's one way to describe it, Jay. I'd say the other word would be worrisome. And here we go again. I mean, this was such a recurring topic for us a year ago heading into Four Nations, was who would Canada choose and, what were their best options. And as it turns out, Jordan Binnington slammed the door shut. But, I think of the three guys that were at Four Nations, Jordan Binnington, Adin Hill, and Samuel Montembeault. Binnington, to me, is pretty much a lock despite his struggles. Got pulled again here on Wednesday night, by the way. But just his body of work, his play in the Four Nations, winning a cup, I mean, that stuff still really matters for him, and the confidence that he'll find it when it matters. But after that, I do think it's wide open. Adin Hill injured. Samuel Montembeault has struggled. It was great the other night, finally against Philly, but he struggled. The most consistent Canadian goaltender has been Logan Thompson of the Washington Capitals. So his name for sure is prominent in those Team Canada discussions. Darcy Kemper was in the Vezina Trophy voting last year. Mackenzie Blackwood is finally back. He's played his first game last weekend after recovering from surgery, so that's another name to keep an eye on. But boy, Jay, it's not a long list of Canadian NHL goalies that you would look at. And really, conversation for another day, but what are we doing in this nation in terms of producing elite goalies? But that's where it's at. And, I want to remind you, I think something I said here back in September, but, I asked Doug Armstrong why he only brought those 3 Four Nations goalies to the Olympic orientation camp in Calgary in August. And he said it's the opposite reason that everyone thinks. It's not because they have such a leg up on it. It's because they view it as a 10-goalie competition to start the season, but they couldn't bring 10 guys to the camp. Yep. And that's not a disrespect to those 3 guys. It's just the realistic assertion that is the most wide open position on Team Canada.
And you also spoke to Kyle Dubas, GM of the Pittsburgh Penguins, for The Athletic this week. He is part of that management team for Team Canada. But you really focused on the Penguins, and the reason is that they are truly the surprise of the NHL this season, Pierre, as you know. I mean, we expected this team to potentially be competing for Gavin McKenna, at the end of the season. Instead, they're second in the Metro. Mm-hmm. How is Kyle Dubas viewing this success? Because it's kind of supposed to be a rebuild hybrid, and now they're just winning games. It kind of makes it complicated.
Yeah, and I will say that he was the first one in that interview to sort of calm things down as far as the Penguins making everyone eat their words and so on. that's not what the Penguins are saying internally. They're not giddy over proving everything wrong because, as Kyle Dubas said, it's so early and we still have a lot to do to find the level we want with our game. But what he did go on to say, and I thought it was really interesting in that interview, is that this is part of the communication that he had with Sidney Crosby and Sidney Crosby's agent, Pat Brisson, since the end of last season about trying to thread that needle with the short-term and the long-term plan for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Long-term, for sure, you're already seeing it. More kids in the lineup, more kids coming. I think they have 17 draft picks coming in the next couple of years in the draft. Next 3, they are loaded in terms of trying to build that out for what it's going to look like in 5 to 10 years. That part is clear. But in the meantime, very important to Kyle Dubas, and I think this is part of the conversation with Sidney Crosby, that they are back in the mix this year, that they're competitive, that they're not an afterthought. If they miss the playoffs this year, it would be the first time since 2001 to 2002 to 2006. And that was Sidney Crosby's first year, and after that, they basically, almost never missed the playoffs until recently. So, it's really important to Kyle Dubas to marry that gap between the now and the future, and so far so good this year. And what it has done too, by the way, being as competitive as they've been, and we'll see if it lasts. I think they're going to come down to earth, but as long as this lasts, it eliminates a certain white noise around a certain top 5 all-time player. And that's important too, is just Kyle Dubas wants Sidney Crosby to finish his career, right, in Pittsburgh, and being competitive allows for that.
Hockey Hall of Fame induction ceremony on Monday, Pierre. Joe Thornton among the inductees. You covered those Sharks' deep playoff runs back in the day. Mm-hmm. You said he was a lock for the Hall of Fame all the way back in 2015. This has the potential, I don't need to tell you this has the potential to be one of the great Hall of Fame induction speeches of all time. Safe to say you are looking forward to Monday night.
Yeah, Jumbo Joe, he's an absolute classic. By the way, I'm offended to this day that there isn't a statue of me outside the San Jose Marriott. Come on, how many nights does a guy have to stay there to get some Hall of Fame recognition? I digress. But yeah, I spent a lot of nights there over the years when Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau and Dan Boyle were a juggernaut with that team. I can't wait to hear his speech. I thought he handled his retirement speech amazingly well with the Sharks. Less emotion maybe than people would have thought. He really held it together. He's a very emotional dude. I texted with him on this day to say, what this week is shaping up like between now and next week. And he said, I'm on a flight tomorrow and I cannot wait! Exclamation points. Every message from Joe Thornton has to have exclamation points in it. But he's such a unicorn. His love of the game, rink rat. They really did have to drag him off the ice. He wanted to play forever. And I'm going to share a quick little PS here if I have time. One of my favorite Joe Thornton stories is after the 2012 lockout, there was a new stipulation in the CBA that veteran players could no longer have to share a hotel room on the road, that if you'd been in the league long enough, you get your own room. It was a big deal. And to show how close he was with Patrick Marleau, him and Patrick Marleau ignored the new benefits of the CBA and kept sharing a room because they're buddies, man. And the Sharks are like, okay, well, you don't have to, but they're like, no, man, let's keep it going like we always have been. And that, to me, is quintessential Joe Thornton story. Never took himself too seriously.
I love that story, but you didn't have to share any rooms at the San Jose Marriott, did you?
No.
Okay,
unlike when I showed up to as I told you, the Sochi Olympics, and there was a naked German dude in my room. That actually has never happened at the San Jose Marriott. I've had my own room. Yeah.
Okay, good job, Marriott Company. Appreciate that. Pierre, I got to ask you about the Dallas Cowboys. You love this team. Tough loss this week to Jacoby Brissett and the Arizona Cardinals. However, Jerry did as promised, and he acquired a real star on defense in Quinton Williams from the New York Jets, shoring up that defensive line, 3-time Pro Bowler. So I'm going to take the temperature on Pierre LeBrun and his love of the Cowboys. How are you feeling right now?
Well, shoring up might be exaggeration. He found a human being that could tackle another human being. So that's, by any measure, an improvement for the Dallas Cowboys defense. No, I actually like the moves. I think it's more about next year, to be honest. I mean, he's 27 years old, and he's going to help the team moving forward. The season's over. They have to beat Arizona. To show you how little faith I have in my team, in one of my fantasy leagues, I actually picked up Jacoby Brissett off waivers before that game and started him against Dallas because I knew. And he did well.
Oh, man, that's impressive that you separated your emotion. And did you get the win in your
Always.
fantasy league? Did you get the win? That's the important thing.
No.
Okay.
I went 0-3
Oh, my God.
across all 3 leagues, just to add to my football mood. Thanks, Jay, for reliving all this. I had gone past it emotionally, and now you just got me right back into all of it.
That's devastating. I got to stop doing that. Oh, I should mention the Hockey Hall of Fame induction ceremony. You can see it right here on TSN on Monday night. I know Pierre is excited about it. I'm excited about it. Pierre, great chat with you, pal. Hopefully better luck for the Cowboys after the bye, and have a terrific couple of weeks, my friend.
Right on, right